We're looking at the idea of taking our opponents back from anywhere. And one of the best ways we can do this is out of open guard situations. When we're in a seated guard, one of the best ways for us to get past an opponent's arms and get towards the back is courtesy of an arm drag. There's many different ways to hit arm drags. Let's look at now at one of the most popular and effective methods. This is the rising arm drag. The key theme is that you will be rising off the mat while your drag is pulling them down. So as your body rises and their body goes down, you pass each other, you get past his elbow, and now you're able to take his back. So from a situation where we start off in front of our training partner, we secure a wrist, and then from here, we're going to take our 2 feet back and around, and we're going to go wrist deep inside our training partner's arm. Guys, don't grab with your fingers. Come up all the way into the armpit, because you want to pull on his shoulders, not his arm. Ultimately, it's the shoulders that you got to beat here. And then from this position, we're going to take our feet and put them behind us. Remember, when your feet are in front of you, it's very hard for you to go forwards. We need to rise and go forwards here. So we need feet in behind us. Now we're going to pull so that his hand comes down to the mat, his head goes down, and our head rises, just like so. And as we pass each other, you now end up on your training partner's back. Now the whole thing is to take our hand from in front of his arm to behind him. A second hand comes in as a thigh pride, and you move around behind your opponent and cover his hips, and you're in this position. So once again, we get a hold of our training partner's 2 hands from here. We take our legs out to the side, and then from here we come up. We hit that drag and go straight in behind. Now we're in a perfect position to get to a score, get to a strangle, etc., etc. From another angle, we want a training partner going past us. So from here, we take our legs out to the side. We come up wrist deep into the armpit. We pull everything on by, so that you're now behind his arms. You catch shallow right here at the hip. Hand comes from in front of the bicep and goes in behind. And then from here, we cover our training partner's hips and end up in perfect position, ready to score from the back position. Once again, here we are. Look how our feet come out like so. And it's from this position that we immediately get in behind and start dragging. Now we come in with that classic thigh pry. We're in behind the arm, inside our training partner's leg, and we're in a perfect position to score. One more time. But we start off in front of a training partner. Look how we bring everything back and around behind us and send this guy through. This is the perfect way to start your arm drag journey. You get past your opponent's elbow in a very realistic fashion to take your opponent's back. Now, the rising drag is one of the most effective methods of taking your opponent's back from open guard position. It's a very, very effective means of getting past your opponent's elbow, getting to a good position, and getting to your scores and your submission holds. However, like any move, it has its limitations. You hit it 2, 3, 4 times. Pretty soon, your opponent starts to see the setup coming. You got to get this very common reaction. Your opponent knows that if we can get this hand to the floor and come up rising, their back's going to be taken. So they're all going to try and skirt out to the side and square up and face you. It looks like this. We come in for a rising drag. He posts on the floor and quickly squares up. Now he can double leg you, return you back down to the mat, and you're back in open guard. Okay, so it's a common and effective form of counter. So we have to be ready for this kind of thing. As we start off, we go in and we hit our rising drag. We see this guy come around. I'm going to take my hand up to my training partner's head, using the wrist, never the fingers, and our hand stays in the arm drag grip, and everything pulls down to the mat. Just like so. As soon as we get there, we go in and we get an arm drag grip on our training partner. We go into the classic passing position where we can either grab the buttocks or at least the hamstring, or we can go shallow to the hip. We move around behind our training partner, and we're in a perfect position to get to the score and get to the back. So once again, training partner here in front of us, we do a good job of coming up, hitting that rising drag. He does a good job of recovering, so we come up with the whole forearm and wrist. We bring everything down to the mat. And then from this position, we go and we get to that classic arm drag grip. We move them behind that same partner, and now we're ready to score. From another angle, training partner here in front of us. We try hard to come in, to get that rising drag. He goes into a cover, and everything comes up. We're already behind, scoring off we go behind. This is a very realistic way to deal with an opponent who tries to square up to you to prevent back exposure. Now, we just the rising arm drag, one of the most popular arm drag methods, where the idea is our body's going up as our opponent's body comes down. You cross paths while your opponent's arm gets dragged by. You beat the elbow. You're going to take your opponent's back. Now, another way to work is instead of us rising as the opponent's going down, is to bring both of you down or backwards by scooting away from your opponent. And this too is a very effective way of operating. So we have a training partner in front of us. And the previous move, the rising drag, we had to get our 2 feet behind us so that we could rise up off the mat and go in and score on this guy. Different this time. We're going to put our 2 feet around one of our training partner's knees. We're going to come in and we're going to get this grip on our training partner. Guys always understand we want to grab up here at the shoulders. I know a lot of people teach coming down here to the elbow. This is good when you want to go past arms and get into double legs. Okay. But if we want to take our opponent's back, you want to pull at the shoulders. Okay. That's what's going to enable you to start going through and exposing your training partner's back. So from here, once we get to our grip in this position, we're just going to take his shoulder to our center line. Just like that. I keep the grip on the wrist. If I bring his shoulder to my center line, but I don't control the wrist, he's going to put his arm around our waist and flatten you out. So we want to make sure we get both of those grips and just pull everything into the center line. So when Placido goes to pull away from me, it's pretty damn difficult. You just keep scooping in on this guy. Now we're just going to focus on taking his elbow down to the mat. We're going to catch our training partner at the hip, and we're going to put our whole chest in behind his tricep. The danger is that his elbow will come back and get around us. That's going to prevent you from taking the back. So from here, we're going to take our elbow, we're going to put it as a base of support on the floor. I cannot put my hand here. Plus, it will easily reach around my waist. And now there's no danger of me taking this back anymore. So it's important that we use our elbow on the mat. And I keep my chest behind his tricep. So when he tries to reach back, my chest makes it impossible. Now, using my elbow as a base of support, not my hands, we come up. We put our head across the other side. We put that thigh pry in. And as a result, we're now behind our training partner and ready to attack. So once again, training partner in front of us. We do a good job of getting to it. We put our 2 feet around one of our training partner's legs and we'll just hold everything in very close, just like so. As he tries to pull away from us from here, we focus on just scooting around behind him and pulling that elbow past and getting here to the waist. Now, look how I use my elbow. I can't use my hand. Plus, it will take his arms and kill the back explosion. So we use our elbow here. I put my chest behind his tricep. So when Placido tries to reach back with his arm, it's impossible. Now we give a little heist so that we come up on a knee. We switch our head across to the other side. And as a result, we're now locked in behind this guy in a great attacking position. From another angle, training partner's here in front of us. We go through, we put 2 feet around our training partner's knee, and then our whole thing is to draw this guy forward, just like so. And we focus on just pulling him past us, getting there to our training partner's waist, putting our chest in behind his tricep, so when he tries to reach back with his arm, it's very, very difficult. Now we heist, pull our body across, and we're in perfect position now to go on the attack. So this is a very, very practical way of working. One more angle. So you'll see our foot, just one foot goes to the outside. My feet remain in front of me so that we can hit that good drag that brings his shoulder forward. As he tries to pull away from us from in here, it's difficult. You just scoot onto the side and get that hand here, like so. Now, as he tries to get his arm back in position, just scoot in behind this guy. I don't put my leg down where he can step over my legs. I keep my knee up high by his hip. But when he tries to escape from this position, it's tough. With all the weight going forward, you're going to end up in the excellent attacking position down on your mat. So in a realistic kind of context now, training partner in front of us, we start off, we take our 2 feet to one of our training partner's knees. We start that just by holding them just like so. Then we scoot around behind this guy. We build up in height, and we end up in perfect attacking position, locked in place, and ready to go. So this is the scooting arm drag. Very effective variation for taking your opponent's back out of open guard. Now, let's look at a specialty variation of arm drags, which is often associated with my students. This is the idea of a far side arm drag. Okay. From open guard situations, very often we'll have something kind of between open guard and half guard. And it's usually done out of half butterfly situations like so. So you have kind of like a half guard leg, butterfly guard leg, and it's kind of a mishmash between half guard and butterfly guards. And we're playing here kind of head-to-head situation like so. We're going to take a hold of the far arm. Now, normally, fellas, if I'm on Placido's right-hand side, I will be arm dragging on the right arm. That's the classic method of doing it. It's the time-honored method, and it's a good method. It works really well. But what we like to do, because people often find it rather predictable, that if we just go right to right, we often go position ourselves on the right side of the body, but we arm drag left. Okay? So here's the standard method, which has been very popular in Jiu-Jitsu for a very long time, which is if I'm dominating my opponent's right leg and I'm positioned on Placido's right side of his center line, we go after his right arm, either scooting arm drag or rising arm drag. That's the two classic methods. Okay? But what we often do is we take our head and we give our opponent inside head position. This would make it very difficult for me to hit a classic arm drag. Very difficult. Okay? Because his head's in the way. So we take a kind of a weird half butterfly guard type situation. And from here, we let him come forward with inside head position and we play down on an elbow. Like so. Now, this doesn't look very promising as an arm drag position. And most of your opponents don't really feel threatened by this because they're thinking to themselves, how the hell is this guy going to rise up from here? And he's grabbing the wrong arm. Like, my body is not positioned in the right way to come up and drag on this side of the body. His head makes it impossible. I can't just sit forward. I can't rise. I can't scoot. So he feels much more confident in this position. What we're going to do is we're going to take our foot, we're going to take it out here. So that half guard foot of yours comes out. And you take his hand and you put it here in your pocket. Don't have the hand here. Because now if you try to arm drag, you just pull into a body lock. You push the wrist across the body and you put your foot out like so. This gives you an extreme angle, a much greater angle across your opponent's body. In Jiu-Jitsu 101 arm drags, you are facing directly into your opponent. So there's no angle. In this method, locked in like so, once we come out here, there's an extreme angle of 90 degrees across your opponent. This means that when we hit that drag, he goes right past you, out on the other side. And then from here, because we're so far behind the guy, we actually do use the hand on the floor. We go hips, hand on the mat. Now, Placido, let's rotate. When we can, you don't always have to do this, but when we can, when we go to get up, we put our hand on his hand. Okay, you don't always have to do this. Sometimes it just happens so quickly, you just get up behind the guy without this happening. But if you feel that the other guy's fast, we often put a hand on his hand. So when he tries to reach back, oh, it's glued. He can't move his hand. Don't grab it. There's no need. Just put your body weight on top of it. I'm not grabbing Placido at all. But when Placido tries to reach back with his left hand, he'll tell you, you can't do it. And then we get him behind his elbows and we take the back. So let's have a look at all these details again. I'm just going to show it from a bunch of angles because there's a lot going on here. Okay, first, we take something like a half guard leg, like so, and half butterfly. Conventionally, this would mean from here, if I go on Placido's right-hand side, I should be dragging with my right arm, his right arm. That's the Jiu-Jitsu arm drag that you've all seen for so long. But instead, we give him inside head position, and we grab the left arm. Now from here, we take our half guard leg out, and it comes across the body. This gives us an unusual angle. And that good head position of his, which was good just a second ago, is now a disaster for him. Now when you pull, the angle is so far across the body that you always fully expose your opponent's back. We grab the waist. If possible, we find the hand. If in the hurly-burly of the action, it just doesn't happen, and just high start. Okay? But if you can, plant your hand. So when he tries to reach back, he physically can't do it. Then you can go at a slower pace and take your opponent's back every time. From another angle, training partner in front of us, we go in with a butterfly hook, and it's kind of a quasi half guard type situation. As we play from guard position, we get a hold of our training partner's wrist and we catch up here. You can even be down here on an elbow if you want. And then from this position, look how we position our foot at 90 degrees. And then from this situation, the angle is so extreme. If he goes for a body lock from here, can't do it. You're controlling his wrist. If he goes for any kind of forward movement, it's going to be tough for him to work with. Now we place our hand here, or it's okay to go here, especially if you're fast. Then we'll just keep pump up and end up in good position behind our training partner and ready to attack now. From another angle, training partner in front, there's our half butterfly, working like so. Normally, this would be the way most people would attack an arm drag. We often do the opposite. We give him inside head position, and from here, we'll even pull them in, just like so. Now we stick our foot to the outside and take everything straight on by. When he tries to recover from here, it's awfully difficult. Then we come up into good position. Okay? Buster will tell you, when the guy gets a hold of you, you feel like you're being thrown completely by because of the change in angle. We've had a lot of success with this one over the years. It's a very different approach to arm dragging than the conventional methods.
Now, we look at this idea of constantly hunting for our opponent's back, using every opportunity to get past our opponent's head, elbows, or in between their knees to get into these back situations. And we understand if we can get to our opponent's back, establish some kind of control, you're going to be putting yourself in the single best position to strangle out an opponent, get those submission rates of yours going up and away. Now, we've seen many forms of arm drag. All of the arm drags we've looked at so far have this idea that we were going to move up while our opponent moved down. Okay, the rising arm drag is a classic example of this. Now let's look at the idea of, instead of focusing so much on ourselves going up, let's focus more on bringing this guy down. One of the best ways we can do this is to incorporate our foot inside our training partner's knee, like a Hisaguruma type action, where you're going to push on your training partner's knee and break his base. Let's look at what happens whenever you have control of someone's hands and you just quickly push their base of support out. It always brings their head down. Okay, it lowers their body. So we can add to the idea of an arm drag this idea of pushing our training partner's knee out. So we're going to push with the drag while at the same time taking away his base of support. If Placido's base of support is unchallenged, he can make his body quite strong, quite resistant. It can be quite hard to bring his head down. But if you push away his base of support as you perform the drag, it's the result. The head comes down immediately, their stance is broken, and now it's so much easier to get up towards your opponent's back because he's come down and level. That stands in contrast with a rising drag where I have to pull my whole body up off the mat in order to get higher than him and expose that back of his. So now instead of pulling ourselves up to him, we're bringing him down to us. We put our knee right there, our foot right inside of our training partner's knee, and we're just going to push outwards at a 45-degree angle. Don't push into the guy, you want to push outwards. And that's what puts him in a situation where he can easily break him down to the mat. We get a hold of our training partner's hip on the opposite side. Now, with regards to the drag itself, it's desirable for you to bring his elbow past your hip. Don't be satisfied with this as a drag. His elbow is still in front of your hip. That means his back's a long way from you. What we want to do is take his elbow all the way past your hip. That's what enables you to get straight to that grip on your training partner's waist. So let's have a look at this. Here we are. We start off in front of our training partner. We just place our foot right inside our training partner's knee. Now we hit that drag, and at the same time, we're not going to kick our opponent. We just push. And as we push out of 45 degrees, you're going to get an ability to bring that elbow of his all the way past your hip. Then we catch a hold of our training partner, we bring our elbow in behind him, we scoot our hips to his hips. The further my hips from his, the easier it is for him to step over my body. So we want to focus here on a good pull of our body so we end up hip to hip. When he tries to step over our body, it's going to be very difficult for him. Now we just hunched, come up on top, and we're in a good attacking position where we go. Seen from other angles. So here, training partner in front of us. We come in, we get a hold of our training partner's hands, we put our foot right there inside our training partner's knee. Now we give a good healthy push out here at 45 degrees and a good healthy pull. It's important, guys. Don't pull at the elbow. Come all the way up here at the shoulders. And as a result, take that guy right past you. Now look at the heist around the corner. And as a result, you can take our elbow from the front of his elbow to behind his elbow. That's what makes it easy for us to heist up and get into good position. From another angle. We get a hold of our training partner. Foot goes just inside our training partner's knee. There's the big push that brings him right past us. Now our elbow goes from in front of his elbow to behind. That's what enables us to get up. Okay. One important detail here. Just position your body like so. When you go to get up, make sure your head crosses the center line. If I come up and my head doesn't cross the center line, Placido can give me a good bump with his hips and return me to the mat. So it's important when we come up, my head goes across the center line. That's what enables me to hook into my training partner's arm. So when he goes to bump me down, I'm stuck to him. If he was so physically strong that he could bump me to the floor, well, he's coming for the ride with me because I'm hooked in. Okay? I don't care if I go to the mat so long as he goes with me. What I can't have is me getting bumped down and him staying over me. So one more time. Training partner's here in front of us. We do a good job getting our foot right inside our training partner's knee, and then the push on the knee breaks his base. And then from this position, elbow comes back, hand up, side pry in, and we're behind this guy and ready to attack. I'm just going to add one little detail that often makes a difference when you've got someone who's physically stronger than you. As a general rule, the human body will tend to go wherever you look. Okay. If I look into my opponent and try and pull him this way, I'm limiting my pull strength. What we typically want to do is look in the direction of the pull. This will add a considerable amount of power into the arm drag pull that you begin with. So here we are. We start off. If I just look at him, it tends to put a limit on how far I can pull this guy. But if I push on my training partner's knee and at the same time look in the direction I want to go, it adds a lot of horsepower. It makes it much easier for us now to move around the corner, pop up, and get into a good attacking position behind our training partner. So this is a great way for you to, as it were, break your opponent's base of support. The more base of support he has, the stronger his stance, the harder it is to bring him down to you. The more you can separate his knees with that simple Hisakuruma action, pushing out his base of support, the easier it's going to be for you to break a strong opponent down and get to his back. Now, an important subcategory of arm drags from open guard are so-called weave drags. They're not seen as often, and so they tend to get a little ignored, but in certain niche situations, they can be a very valuable part of your game. Let's have a look at this. A weave refers to situations where we're working from open guard and my opponent, just take your hand out, buddy. Your opponent takes his hand and weaves it over my top leg and under my bottom leg and goes to control my two knees with the shoulder. If he does a good job of bringing my knees together, he can really make my open guard a lot less effective in these situations. So when we see someone get a weave here, we always want to be posting our training partner and opening our knee outwards, making his weave less effective. Remember, if he controls your knee with his chest, that's a problem for you, good for him. So we always want that knee coming out like so. And people will often play in these situations with their hands up, working from open guard, and there'll be extended periods of time where your opponent works in these kind of weave positions. Now, one thing that we can often do in these situations is get a hold of our training partner's arm and lock it right in here. We're going to post on our training partner's neck just like so. When Placido goes to pull his arm out, it's not as easy as it looks. That arm drag grip is quite robust. Now we're just going to take our foot, and we're just going to bring it over the top of our training partner and then swing it like a pendulum down to the mat. Even as the leg chops down like a pendulum, we're going to pull our training partner's arm right past it. But as he goes down, we go up. Again, you get that height advantage. If your head is over your training partner's back, that's when you can take his back. We lock onto our training partner's waist. We take our elbow and put it behind his elbow. As a result, we can quickly get our head across the center line and lock into a good attacking position. Let's have a look at this from a range of different angles. So, here, Placido is in my open guard, and he's elected in here to go in for a classic arm weave. I don't want my knee getting caught under his chest. So initially we frame our training partner, we put our knee right next to his ear. From this position, we go through, we get the arm drag grip and lock it in place. When Placida goes to pull away from you, it's not as easy as it might appear. Now we put a pushing post on our training partner's neck so we can take our leg out. One motion, sit up and drag our training partner. When he tries to get his arm back, my chest is behind the triceps. It's quite difficult for him to do so. And as a result, in critical pop arm, we can find ourselves in an excellent attacking position. Again, from another angle. Do you see, guys, how these moves typically start in supine situations? A lot of people believe that arm drags from guard require you to be seated. This is not the case. You can be very effective from this kind of open guard situation supine. Again, we're always posting, getting our knee inside the ear. This is not good. This is good for him. There's no arm drag from here. We need our knees apart to be able to take our hand and go through and get that grip. When you grip, make sure it's all the way up here by the armpit. Don't grip at the elbow. Now, in this position, you push away, the leg comes out and across, and if the leg chops down, you get a nice opportunity to get your chest behind your training partner's triceps. Understand, if your chest is not behind the triceps, he's always going to pull that arm out and recover. So your whole goal is to get your chest behind his tricep. So when he tries to recover position, it's very difficult. Now to get up efficiently, we bring our elbow behind his elbow, we bring our head across the center line, and as a result, we're in excellent attacking position. Now, one more time for another angle. Training partner's working down an open guard. He sees an opportunity to go into the classic leg weave. As he plays in this position and tries to bring my knees together, we always try to fight to get our knee up here by his ear. As we play in this position, so go through and we get our grip. There's the arm drag grip. We post on our training partner's neck, our leg comes out, and from here we're right behind him, always looking in the direction of the drag. As he tries to recover position here, we're always pushing forward with our body, coming up, getting our head across that center line, and now we're in a perfect position to go and start attacking people. So this is a good example of a weave drag, which will enable you to be very effective with arm drags in this commonly seen scenario, and add the idea of a supine arm drag to your seated drags. Now, let's look at the relationship between sumigeshi, one of the most important sweeps when someone's on two knees in our open guard, and arm dragging. A grip which can be very useful for sumigeshi is an arm drag grip. We have a training partner in front of us. Look, snap here a bit. We can often hit a surprisingly effective sumigeshi using an arm drag grip by pulling this guy in shoulder to shoulder, and then from this situation, is now managed elevating him, taking him over. Okay, from another angle. Normally we associate sumigeshi with upper body grips to the head and shoulders, but this time we're just going to pull this guy in just like so. And then from here, you get him up in the air, and you can either use your hand to block the leg, or you can maintain your grip on the wrist. And then from these situations, you can surprisingly often knock people down to the mat. We often use this as a simple way to draw people in. The great advantage of the great advantage of arm drag grips is how good they are at pulling. When he tries to pull away from us, it's such a strong grip to bring someone in shoulder to shoulder. When he tries to yank away, it's not as easy as it might look. And then from here, they just chop. He tries to base out with his legs, and it's hard. And you can knock him down to a shoulder. Now you're probably saying to yourself, well, if it's such a good grip, why don't we see people getting swept all the time in international competition with this? Okay, well, the chief reason is because the conventional grips control both sides of the body. Okay, if I go to double triceps or collar-tying tricep, both sides of his body are being controlled, which gives us more control over the outcome of the sweep. When you go into an arm drag grip, you're only controlling one side of his body. This means that when you do go to sweep your opponent and knock him over, there's a much higher chance of recovery. He can bounce back up. And from here, you get the knockdown, but you don't get the score. That's why most people generally prefer conventional two-sided grips when it's tied to sweep a tough opponent. Or what you can do is think 2 steps ahead. What if we swept this guy with no intention of getting up on top of him, but rather with the intention of letting him recover and then taking his back? Okay. So from a situation where we start off a training partner in front of us, we go in and we get that arm drag grip just like so. We hit a fast sumigation, we bounce him up with just like so. As he goes to recover, he recovers right into a classic arm drag, and now we're right on our training partner's back and ready to attack. So this would be a good example of thinking 2 steps ahead to get to your opponent's back. We hit him with a dummy sumigaeshi. We come in and knock this guy down to a hit. He goes to recover, but recovers right into the second attack, the drag, and now I'm in position to take what we really wanted all along. One more time. Training partner in front of us. We can take advantage of the virtue of the arm drag ray, which is its tremendous pulling power. And we take advantage of its great weakness. It's the fact that it only controls one side of the body. So that when we bounce our opponent over, we base to recover, well, we covered right into what we really wanted all along, which is our training partner's back. Okay? And in this way, you can use the arm drag grip, a relatively easy grip to get, to hit a dummy sumigaeshi. The guy recovers from it, and then we take what we really wanted all along, which is your opponent's back. Arm drags are without any question one of the premier methods of taking our opponent's back from any kind of open guard situation. Traditionally, there's this central idea behind them has always been to beat your opponent's elbow and then win a battle for height. Okay? The idea is that you got 2 problems here. You got the problem of your opponent's head height and the problem of the elbow. The arm drag always gets you around the problem of the elbow pretty simply. The problem now is your opponent's head height. If the head is low, it's very easy to take his back. That's why you like to kick out people's legs, etc., etc. But if the head is high, it's very hard to take the back from here. That's why people like rising drags a lot. Because when you rise, you win that battle for height and go across and expose your opponent's back. There's a different philosophy here. Instead of me trying to rise and worry about beating his head height by getting my own head higher, another approach is to pull him down. Okay, and the question becomes, well, how are you going to do this on a strong guy who's got a good base of support? Well, the pull and post method is our favorite way of doing this. How does this work? From a situation where we successfully drag an opponent, and instead of me rising up to him, I'm going to get a hold of my training partner just like so, and then from here I'm going to pull my hips up to the line of his hips. If my hips are far in front of his, this is good for him, bad for you. What we want to do is pull ourselves around the corner. And then let's shift our body position close here. We're going to play a trick on our training partner's arm. We're going to take our hand from in front of our training partner's tricep, and we're going to post here on the back of his tricep. So we use our thumb and we post. So when he tries to cut back with his elbow, it's quite difficult. And then from here, we're going to pull him down to our lat. Instead of me coming up to him, the way we've been doing so far in this video, we're going to shoot our body away from him. And as I push on his tricep, I'm going to physically pull him down to the mat. And now we're in the perfect position to move in behind this guy and take our opponent's back. So the whole focus now changes from us trying to go up to him being pulled down. Instead of us coming up with our hips, we pull him into our lap. So once again, we managed to hit a classic drag and get behind this guy. Now from here, we reposition ourselves. I get the grip here on the waist, and then my hand posts here on the back of his tricep. From that tricep post, we scoot away from our opponent and create a space into which we can pull him. And now he's broken down to the mat. We lock up a seatbelt, and we're in perfect position to attack. One more time. Classic drag position. We're in here and bring him down towards the mat. We get to our grip, reposition and get our chest in behind, and then we post on our training partner's tricep. Now we scoot away from our training partner. You just pull him down. And now from this position, we're locked in for a range of different angles. We go through, get behind our training partner, and then from here we post on the back of the tricep. Now we scoot our hips away from him, giving us space to walk and pull and break him down to a hit. Stack up Placido. Now when Placido makes his base strong and tough and resistant, you're going to see that once he starts scooting away from this guy, you just harass him down to his hip and get to a good attacking position behind your opponent. If the guy proves to be so strong in this situation that you cannot break his base of support, that's a clear signal that we just return to conventional. approaches and pop up and take this guy's back. And what we do is we play this guy. If the base is narrow, we bring them down to a hit. If the base is wide to resist that, then we go through on the other side, or we hook in and get to a win on top. When you play these two philosophies against each other with great success with arm drags. Once again, training partners here in front of us, we go through it, get that good drag position. Now from here, we post, and we start to ask ourselves, how good is his base in this position? If the base is relatively narrow, it's pretty easy for us to pull him over. If we see our opponent strongly resisting, then from here, that's a good signal that his base is so wide that we're going to be able to go through and get our man broken down in the usual fashion. Okay? We'll play these two against each other for more success at the outcome of a good arm drag. Almost all of the arm drags we've looked at so far involved the idea of hitting the drag and then rising up towards our opponent, pulling him away. Always we were getting out to the side. Okay, what do I mean by this? We saw the idea that if we get out to the side or actually, that's exactly where we can start getting up, or in some cases, pulling him down. Okay, but they always decide to getting out to the side of your opponent. What about situations where you can't get out to the side, where this guy's just planted right in front of you? So that's when elevated drags come in. The idea is now we're going to keep our 2 feet between his knees. We've been doing everything with our feet either outside one knee or completely outside so we can rise up on our opponent. Now we're going to keep our 2 feet right where they would at the start of a butterfly guard engagement. From here, we're going to go through with our training partner and we're going to drag him in shoulder to shoulder. So his right shoulder comes to our right shoulder. And then from this position, we're going to reach across and we'll get a good hold on our training partner's lat muscle. So you've got 2 big old hooks here on your training partner. One is the arm drag. The other is a grip on your training partner's lat muscle. And your 2 arms just hug, just like so. Well, plus if it goes to pull away from me, it's quite hard. It becomes even harder when I put my ear on his back. The further my head from his head, the easier it is for possible to recover. So once we get this position, we put our ear on his back, just like so, the back of his head to be precise. When he goes to yank out now, it's very, very difficult. And now from here, we lift him up into the sky. So that his hips are higher than his head. Whichever side you've arm dragged, you're going to take that foot out. And at the same time, you got to pull his arm right across your body. So as my left foot comes out, I pull his elbow right across my body. And as a result, we get into a good taking position behind our man. Now we lock up our seat belts and we're in the perfect position to take our man's back. Seen from other angles, training partners right here in front of us. We do a good job from head to head of bringing this guy's right shoulder to our shoulder and dripping right over his lat muscle like so. As we pull his body in towards us, we start that lifting action up into the sky, and then we send him on by, dragging his shoulder past and locking up a quick seatbelt. Again, from another angle, training partner here in front of us, we do a good job of going through and drawing this guy in shoulder to shoulder. From that shoulder to shoulder position, we grab the lat muscle. So when he tries to recover his arm and cut back, it's very, very difficult. Now as we pull our body underneath his, we bring him up into the sky and then dump him right there in front of us so we can lock up our seatbelt. Plus, you know, deal back to the camera.
Did you see that lat muscle?
I mean, not really. No.
From this position, we get a hold of our man shoulder to shoulder, just like so. We go over the top. We grab that enormously powerful and muscular lat muscle. And from this position, we bring him up into the sky. You're definitely getting heavy, even though I can't feel your lat muscles. From this position, my leg comes out and I pull the arm across the body. And as a result, when we sit up, your head is higher than his head. You get right to your seatbelt, and then we focus on always the same thing, keeping our opponent between the knees. That's how we know we're going to keep this guy's back when we get into a scramble. So that's a very practical way of operating when you are directly in front of an opponent. The elevated drag's a very, very good way of skying that guy, taking his back, and getting to your strangles. We're looking at the idea of getting to our opponent's back out of open guard. We've been focusing so far on arm drag methods. Now, all of the arm drags we've looked at, our opponent's been on 2 knees. And that will probably, most of the time, your opponent will have at least 1 knee on the ground when you're hitting arm drags to take your opponent's back. Nonetheless, you can hit an effective arm drag even on a standing opponent. Understand that many of your opponents will be standing in moderate competition.
especially if you develop a reputation as someone who's got a good arm drag. So when someone is standing in front of us from here, typically they will have to be in a somewhat bent over posture in order to get a hold of our legs. If they're bolt upright, well, then they can't really pass your guard effectively because they can't get a hold of your legs. So typically what you're going to find is they're going to be in a position just like so, working at a distance where they want to get a hold of your legs and you want to come up and start threatening their back. So what we're going to do is take our legs around the corner. We're going to come into the classic drag position, putting our whole hand in behind like so. Now, we want to pull this guy down to the mat, right? And your opponent knows that's good for you and bad for him. So what typically we find is we go to pull on them, we get a pullback reaction. We're going to keep this hand controlled, and as we feel our opponent pulling back and away from us, we're going to come up off the floor. He pulls back up and away from us. We're going to pull up just like so and take our outside knee up. This gives us that early edge in that battle for height that we're always looking for. Now from here, we come up towards our training partner, towards the hips, and our hand finds the opposite hip just like so. We start walking forward of our training partner and lock around our training partner's waist to start bringing him down to the mat. So once again, training partners here in front of us, working at a distance where we can go into work. Now from here, our leg comes to the outside. We get that first grip on our training partner. The outside leg comes from, we'll go straight through and catch our training partner. So don't let go of this arm too early. Okay, if you let go too early, you're going to hit an elbow cut back and put you back in the position where you're in front of his elbows again. That's not good. So training partners in front of us, as we line up in the situation, we go through on our training partner and we get that initial catch. Now from here, we push in on our training partner's wrist. That's very important. And from here, we start pulling our body up to him so that your head is higher than his shoulders. As long as your head is below his shoulders, that's when you're never going to take your opponent's back from this position. So your whole thing is to bring your head up and your hand fires out just like so. I can't have my knee in front of his knee. Now he can walk around our legs, cause all kinds of problems from here. So it's very important we get our knee outside of his. So we come up, that's the position we're looking for. Your head higher than his shoulders, your knee behind his knee. And from here, it's a simple method of walking up and forward, getting in behind this guy to a good position. Now, some key elements here. When your opponent stands over you, the angle of his arms is radically different. If he's down on two knees, even with a one-handed grip, you have a good ability to pull someone in. When he stands up, that same pull will tend to slide down his arm. So it's important you keep control of his wrist. As he stands at distance from in here, we want to push with the hand on the wrist so that his hand always stays behind his shoulder. If his hand comes in front of his shoulder, that's when you slip down. So you want to push this wrist towards the inside of his knees, just like so. So when he goes to pull back and away from you, his arm functions like a rope that you can hang off. And then from here, as your head comes up high, you can get to that waist. Now we come up, throw this guy's wrist. We're in a good position now to walk this guy down to the mat. So putting all this together, we have a training partner in front of us. He's presumably lined up with our head. If you're looking over this way, you're not going to pass my guy. So he's going to be lined up. Let's just like so. Now from here, we come in, we catch a hold of our training partner right there at the arms. Now we start that upward pull, bringing everything up so our head goes higher than our training partner's shoulder and our knee is behind his knee. Get that first catch on our training partner right here. Now from this position, all above that walk, it brings us right up behind our training partner as we circle across to the opposite side and finish. Last big detail. As a general rule, if you drag on your opponent's right-hand side, try if you can to finish your control on his left-hand side so that you go from one side of his body to the other. This is not absolutely essential, but it's often a good thing when you have strong resisting opponents. So again, we have an opponent lined up with us. We go through, we hit that initial movement just like so. You can see I'm currently on his right-hand side. If I stay on this side and I ever lose control of his arm, he hits that cutback and he can counter. So once we get to this position, what we typically do is walk to the other side. So that if we start to lose control of this arm, it's no longer relevant. And from here, we can easily put this guy down to the mat. So one more time. Training partner in front of us. From here, we go through and secure this guy's hands. We come out to the side and get that initial control grip right there touching this waist. Start working elbows up, moving across to the other side. For knee situations, the hands go down to the floor relatively easily.
and we're looking good with that arm drag. Quickly summarizing the main points. Opponents down on 2 knees. From here, any form of drag will form an effective pull. When someone is standing, if his hand is in front of his elbows, your arm will always tend to slip. So it's very important in these situations that we push the wrist inwards to form an effective pull. If you feel he's so weak that you can pull him down, well, just pull him down and bring him to the mat. If that's almost never going to happen at a high level, you're going to get a strong pullback reaction, and that's what we're looking for. So come up off the mat, we find our training partner's hip, we move across to the other side. And it's from these situations that we can walk our man down to the floor relatively easily. So this is how we hit an arm drag on a standing opponent to take the back. We've looked at a lot of ways to drag your opponent's arm to get to the back. Now let's look at a closely related move, the elbow post. The basic difference between the two is simple. A drag is a pulling motion. A post is a pushing motion. They have the same result. You take your opponent's elbow, push it across your opponent's body, and expose their back. One is done by pulling, and one is done by pushing. Elbow posting is a very, very effective supplement to your arm drag game. They're often confused, and people tend to say, oh, it's the same move. No, they're definitely not the same move. There's a completely different physical mechanism behind them. One is pushing, one is pulling. They get the same result, but it's a very different way of getting there. Let's have a look at this. Anytime an opponent is in front of us, if we're going to arm drag, I take his right arm with my left hand. If we're going to elbow post, we take his right arm at the wrist with the right hand. So the whole initial contact is different. Okay, one is with the left hand, one is with the right hand. Now we take an elbow 2-on-1 and we post on our training partner's elbow. The idea behind a post is to then push the arm across the body as opposed to a drag where you pull the arm across the body. Both very effective. Okay, so we start with wrist control, and from here we're going to start that posting action, which enables us to push the arm across the body, and it exposes your opponent's back to you. Now, how are we going to use this? Okay, the first and easiest way for us to go in and use this is with a rising post, where we get a hold of our training partner and we try to pull him in. If he doesn't react to the pull, well, then you can bring him into all kinds of attacks, like triangles, for example. Okay, that's a very common way for us to work. So when we go in on a training partner, we start pulling people forward. We often get pullback reactions, and that's what we're looking for. We're going to come up and we're going to post on our training partner's body and bring ourselves up so our head is higher than his head. And then from this situation, we go swarming over our training partner's back and into good position behind this man. We often make use of this kind of push-pull action. We create an initial threat, usually with triangles, throwing our legs up into triangles. So pretty soon, opponents get nervous. So they pull me into some kind of triangle or ashigarami or something like this. And from here, we get that kind of nervous reaction where people go to pull away from us. Now, instead of throwing our legs up high, we bring our legs in behind us. We start that action of pushing across the body and getting hands to the floor. And we shoot our arm in behind, the run in behind this guy, and we're ready to start taking our opponent's back. So this is the first method of elbow post. We often make use of a rising post, where we get a hold of our training partner. We try to pull them in. We get a push back reaction, and then we go right around our training partner and we're into good position. Okay. Now, the second method that we often use is arguably the most effective method. This is a double elevator. From a 2-on-1, we get that elbow post. We draw this guy in. We lift him up into the sky. Now we're going to push everything across the body while we drop our training partner's legs. It's from these positions that you often get your opponent's back. Once again, in the first move, we looked at the idea of getting a push-pull reaction and then coming up, rising towards him. This time, instead of rising towards him, we're going to go underneath him and lift him up into the sky. And then everything goes across the body while I take out my foot on the same side as the elbow post. So I'm going to push the hands across while we drop our leg. And then from this position, we're ready to go. Let's pass it back to the camera. We go in on our training partner. We pull in, we bring our knees up. And from here, look how everything goes across the body. And it's from here that he's caught between our knees and ready to attack. Again, training partner in front of us. We get a hold of our training partner's wrist to pull this guy in, the lift, dump, and there's a good attacking position behind our training partner. So, using these two in unison, we've got a training partner in front of us. We go through, we create an initial threat. This guy's worried about triangle attacks, ashigarami, etc., etc. So from here, we often get a pullback reaction. We're looking to get in behind this guy and run around into a good attacking position. If we feel we don't have the speed or agility to go up to him, then we go underneath him instead. We draw him up, get his hips up nice and high, and then from here, everything goes across the body. Now we lock up, and we're in the perfect attacking position. So this is the elbow post, a very, very effective way of taking your opponent's back from open guard whenever they're on two knees. It's a nice supplement to your arm drag. It represents a push on your opponent's elbow instead of a pull. We're looking at this path to our opponent's back, and we've seen that we want to have as many paths as possible. We're going to be using the rear naked strangle as our number one method of increasing your finishing percentages. Getting to the back is the key skill that you're going to have to develop. We should be able to get the back from anywhere. We're looking at the idea of getting to the back from open guard. We've focused a lot on arm drags. We've seen elbow pokes. Now let's look at the third premier method, which is snap downs. We want to bring our opponent's head down. The big picture that we're trying to offer in this video is that there are three great paths to your opponent's back. These are your opponent's head, your opponent's elbow, and your opponent's knees. If you can see those three objects, the knees, the elbow, and the head, and understand what you're looking for, you're going to see opportunity. And if you can see opportunity, you can take opportunity. This is the big message of this video. We've seen with regards to the elbow, that if we can get outside of our opponent's elbow with drags, if we can get outside of the elbow with posts, you're going to have the back available, okay? The other big visual cue, of course, is the head. If the head is higher than my head, I'll never take my opponent's back. But if I can bring my opponent's head lower than mine, now the back is completely exposed. And from here, we can start taking our training partners back. So the snap down, which brings our opponent's head down, is one of the best paths in all of jiu-jitsu to your opponent's back. From an open guard situation, one of the best methods is a heist and snap. As we stand in front of an opponent, we're going to push on this guy. Then our hand's going to come up here to our training partner's head. Now we're going to heist up to a knee, just like so. And our second hand is going to grab our training partner right behind the tricep. So we're going to take our knee out, and we're going to pull our training partner right into the space that we just vacated. And it's from here, we can go straight behind our opponent and into good attacking position, ready to go. Let's have a look at this from another angle. We have a training partner right here in front of us. We start off, training partner in position like so. We start an action of pushing on our training partner's shoulder. Then our hand comes around here as a pull. So we start off posting on our training partner's shoulder and pushing back. And then from here, we get the pull grip. We quickly heist up to a knee, and our second hand catches right behind the tricep. Now it brings everything back. And where my leg was, that's exactly where we bring him. Now from here, we're in perfect position to run behind this guy. We get a grip on our training partner's hamstring right where it meets the buttocks. And our second arm is behind, so we can put weight on top of our training partner and quickly split in behind and take our opponent's back. So from another angle, so we start off in front of our training partner. We start that action of pushing like so, and then we come in with a pull grip and we start heisting. We get a hold of our training partner's tricep. We bring everything straight down to the floor. We'll quickly move him behind our opponent into good attacking position. From another angle, we start off in front of our training partner, post, pull, to bring our training partner down. But now we're in good attacking position on our opponent's back. Everything's about the height of your opponent's head, okay? My head is lower than his. It's very hard to take his back. But the second we start that action of heisting, now my head is higher than his head. Now we grip. We take everything out to the side. His head is so low at this point, it's going to be very easy for us now to take our training partners back. So this is a classic example of using the heist and snap to take your opponent's back from open guard. Now, we look at the idea of snap downs from open guard as a path to our opponent's back. The idea is that there's three key signals that we're looking for when it's time for us to look for a path to our opponent's back. Those three key areas are the head, the elbows, and the knees. Always when we look at an opponent, we're looking at those three aspects. Where is the head? If the head is lower than our head, it's a good opportunity to take someone's back. If the elbows are in a position where we can either pull them or push them and get outside the elbows, there's going to be back exposure. The knees. If we can split the knees and invert underneath an opponent, then we can get through to our training partner's back.
Those are the three key areas that we're always looking for. Now, with regards to the head, the snap down is one of the absolute best methods of bringing the opponent's head down, exposing the back so we can go behind them. From open guard, we just saw the idea of heisting, and then from there, snapping them down to take the back. Another way to do it is to snap and catch. What does this look like? From a situation where a guy's in front of us, we're going to create a hole right in front of him. And we're going to get a hold of our training partner's head so that I can pass his head from my right hand to my left hand. Now we have a chin strap and the back of the head. So when Placido goes to pull away from us, it's actually quite difficult, and his head is caught in a position lower than our head. So previously, I went left hand for my snap and brought him down. So I got higher than him by getting up to my knees. Now we're going to be in a seated position. And then in one motion, we just come up, we put that hole in front of our training partner's head. We just come up and bring his head down just like so. When he goes to pull away from us, it's actually quite difficult. That grip on the head is quite strong. We've got a good chin strap and a good control of your training partner's head. And it's from situations like this now, as he focuses on defending his neck, because you're putting quite a bit of guillotine pressure on this guy, we just take our legs out. And we'll come to a position on our knees just like so. And now it's very easy for us to come up from this position, start walking in behind our training partner. As we put our two knees around him, now we're in the perfect position to take the back. So you put, as it were, a viable threat of the guillotine that creates a situation where you can easily heist up. The difference is, in the previous move, we heisted first and snapped second. Now we're reversing the order of things. We're going to snap first and heist second. So previously, we looked at the idea of first heisting and then snapping. Now, we come directly into that snap. We put some heat on this guy's neck. So he's thinking, oh man, he's going for some kind of crazy guillotine from here. And then from this position, we just take our legs out, and we're in the perfect position now to move in behind this guy and put him into a situation where now you're threatening his training partner's back. From other angles, we're just going to create a situation where I pass his head down like so and catch it. How we do this, there's my right hand feeding into my left hand, and it pulls the head down. We create what appears to be a viable threat of guillotines. As this guy's freaking out, worried about a guillotine, we just come up into situations where from here, we quickly move in behind and start attacking our training partner's back. So we create that initial threat where his opponent's concerned with guillotines. He goes in to defend the guillotine. His hands come in. Now we move behind his elbows and take his back. So once again, as we start off in this position, there's my armor plates. We come in and we catch. When we go to catch, don't pull with your fingers. Come up with your whole wrist. Don't stay sitting on your butt. Look at my butt, so it comes off the ground. Like we're coming up to catch this guy. And then we use our falling body weight to sit down and control him. As Placido feels the initial threat of a guillotine, look, our hand comes out, legs come back, and we bring our chest over our training partner's back. Now we're in a perfect position to start threatening this guy's back and getting behind him. So once again, the left hand pulls him down to right hand chin strap. So there we are. Bang. We get a hold of our training partner's head. Alternatively, we can go in the other direction. Right hand passes to left hand. Left hand passes to right hand. If I have to, I will rock up off my buttocks so that my falling body weight gives me a good connection to them. As Placido goes to defend himself from in here, I just bring my legs back and put our chest up on top of our training partner. We'll move around into a good position to expose this guy's back. This is a very practical and simple way of getting to your opponent's back out of open guard. Now, we're looking at this idea of using our opponent's head as a measuring stick to take his back. The understanding is if we can bring his head lower than our head, you have an excellent chance of taking advantage of the back exposure and going behind your opponent to his back. One of our favorite ways to do this is to snap an opponent down into some kind of front headlock situation. Often there's a threat of an arm and guillotine or what have you. This is all done from open guard. Then we use a sumigashi action to sweep our opponent. Do you think your opponent's going to be happy to be swept? Of course not. He's going to try and bounce his way back up and get back into your open guard and recover. That's what they all do. Otherwise, it would be easy just to sweep them and get on top. And it's off that recovery that we're going to go behind our opponent. So let's have a look at this. We have a training partner in front of us on two knees. However it happens, we're able to come up and get a hold of our training partner's neck.
We go on and get to a classic front headlock type situation. From here, you can put a lot of guillotine pressure on this guy. What do you think he's going to be doing at this point? Trying to grab your wrist and prevent that guillotine. Now we attack with sumigashi. We bounce this guy down to a hit. If he stays on his back in this position, you can easily get up to score. You can go into anacondas, you can do all kinds of things. What do you think your opponent's going to do? He's going to try to recover. When he goes to recover, we go to recover. And from here, we just run behind this guy and we take our training partners back. Okay? Human beings, we always like to fancy ourselves as multitaskers. We're always so proud of our ability to walk down the street while we're texting or talking on the phone while we're driving. We like to multitask. But the truth is, we're not good multitaskers. Whenever you focus on more than one task at once, you're always going to have lower performance at all tasks as a whole. Same thing in jiu-jitsu. If I get this guy worried about a guillotine, worried about a sumigashi, he's going to fight the guillotine and the sumigashi. He's involved in two different tasks. And when I introduce a third task, going behind my opponent, his ability to defend all three at the same time goes down dramatically. And so it becomes easier and easier to overcome an opponent as you make him multitask more and more tasks at a given time. So as we stand here in front of a training partner, we go in and we hit an initial catch and we go in and we threaten the guillotine. As his hands come in defensively, we threaten sumigashi. As he bounces up from his hit, we just come right up into a situation where we just go straight behind our man and take our training partners back off the distraction. Once again, training partner here in front of us, we do a good job bringing the head down. We do a good job getting to front headlocks. We really try to bounce this guy over with sumigashi, and he does a good job of coming up the recovery. And now we're in a position to run it behind and get behind this guy into a scoring position, into a strangle position. Seen from different angles. So we start off in front of our training partner. We create a good sense of coming up and catching our training partner at the head. Now from here, we bounce this guy over. He comes up quickly. We do what we always do. We quickly move him behind this guy and go on the attack. Which form of go behind, I leave up to you. But the obvious candidate here is going to be a chin strap go behind because your hand's already on the chin. From another angle, we start off in front of our training partner. We come in and we get the initial grip. We go into an arm guillotine. And from here, we really make a genuine threat. Then we use our sumigashi hook, take this guy up and over. As he goes in to recover, it's an easy way for us from here to go right to our favorite position. Chin strap and behind and lockings. Then we can pull this guy down into a situation where the back's exposed. Now, Buster, going to go a little faster on this one. The way it'll be in competition, once we lock up in here, we bounce this guy over. He's going to be looking to recover as soon as possible. But you're going to be looking to take advantage of that and get in behind. Okay? And this is a very, very practical way of taking your opponent's back out of slap downs. Let's quickly refresh ourselves on the big message of this video. The essential idea in this video is that there's one submission hold which dominates all the others and will from now until the end of jiu-jitsu. This is getting behind your opponent and strangling them from the back. If you just focused on this one move alone, you could have an incredible career in jiu-jitsu. Of course, we're not advocating that, but what we are saying is if you want to take your percentage finishing rate and increase it as much as possible in the least amount of time, you couldn't do better than just focusing all of your training from the idea of getting to your opponent's back, keeping the back, and finishing from the back. It's the fastest way for anyone to increase their submission rate in the shortest possible time. Now, we're giving you the keys to this. The idea is we're going to look at our opponent's head, elbows, and knees. And we're going to use those three as the pathway to your opponent's back. You got three major paths to your opponent's back. You want to be using all three of them as much as possible in your game. From open guard, we've looked at the idea of getting past elbows with drags and elbow posts. We're looking now at the idea of getting past our opponent's head with snap downs. We're introducing this idea that most human beings are poor multitaskers. And if you can make them perform multiple tasks at the same time, it's much easier to get breakthroughs on your opponent than it is if they're just focused on one form of defense. One of our favorite things to do is to get our opponents completely distracted with a strong sumigashi attack. So from a situation where my training partner's on two knees, we're going to get a hold of our training partner at the collar. We're going to get a hold of our training partner at the elbow, and we're going to flip him over with sumigashi. This is dubbed on how much so. As he goes to recover, we go to come up at the same time.
And as a result, from here, we can go right behind our opponent and straight to our opponent's back. Again, he's focused on recovery from sumigashi, and as a result, he's not even thinking about the go behind. And those are the easiest times to go behind someone, when they're not thinking about defending it. Okay, it's easy to defend any move in jiu-jitsu if you know what it is and you can see it coming. But when you're distracted by something else and you're not thinking about it, that's when the moves get the breakthroughs. Now, let's quickly understand the sumigashi action. When we go to knock someone down with sumigashi, the most important thing is that we start with our hand inside our training partner's wrist. Because what I want to be able to do is trap his elbow. If I can't do this, he can put his hand on the floor. That will stop my sumigashi in its tracks. So what we do is we put our hand inside his hand, we grab it here and here. Now I want to bring his head down towards the mat. As he bases out on his elbow, he flips out, and as a result, I almost get him over, but he's probably not going to fall on his back right then. He's going to flip over like so. So we dump him, and he quickly comes back up. As he comes back up, we're in the perfect position now to quickly go in behind. We've got that chin strap. We've got a hold of our training partner's hamstring when he tries to recover. It's so hard to that way forward on the hands. And as a result, we end up behind our opponent in good attacking position. So once again, training partner here in front of us, we start off getting our hands inside his. Now we go in and we attack sumigashi, and he quickly bounces back and recovers. But even as he recovers, we're in the perfect position now to start moving behind this guy and get into good attacking position. Seen from a bunch of different angles. Training partner here in front of us, we come through and get the collar ties. We do a good job taking this guy up and over. As he goes into a cover, we're in the perfect position now to move in behind, take our training partners back. From another angle, push, pull, we go through. We really try to dump this guy with sumigashi. As he goes into recover, there's our position right here. Chin strap, arm in behind the hamstring. When he tries to recover, there's all that forward pressure, putting weight on the hands. And now we're behind that training partner in the perfect position to attack the back. So this is a very, very realistic way for us to take the back, get your opponent multitasking, make him forgetful of the go behind. Remember, if he's expecting you to try to go behind him, it's going to be hard. But if he's distracted completely by defending a sweep, that's when your go behinds become easy. We looked at the idea of getting to our opponent's back from open guard. We looked at the idea of arm drags, elbow posts. We looked at the idea of snap downs. Now let's go into the idea of inversions, where we go inside our training partner's knees. Remember the big theme of this video, that when it's time to identify opportunity to take an opponent's back, the three key elements that we always look at are our opponent's head, elbows, and the space between his knees. If you can bring your opponent's head down lower than your head, you're going to generate back explosion. If you can get outside of your opponent's elbow, you're going to generate back explosion. And if you can split the distance between your training partner's knees, invert and come out through, you're going to expose his back in much the same way. So those are the three most important pathways to the back that we'll be coming back to again and again throughout this video. One of the more common situations that we find ourselves in an open guard is where an opponent puts a foot in between our legs. It's a smart move because it means he is inside position. It's hard for us now to get into our standard leg locks and work from there. We're going to catch a hold of our training partner and put our foot shallow on our training partner's hip. I don't want to come through too far with my foot. He can quickly snatch up toe holds in this position. So we want to make sure that our foot goes shallow on the hip, just like so. Now from here, we're going to give a little push that puts weight onto this far leg and makes it possible for us to start coming through underneath our training partner. Now we want to pressure forward with our two legs. I have one foot in front of his hip and I have a knee behind his other knee. We're going to pressure forward and make his hands walk further away from us. Now, in a standard demonstration of this move, it looks like this. You pommel your foot through, you take your two hands to your training partner's hips and you sit them down like you're sitting into a chair in front of you. Okay? So that's not really realistic in competition because the truth is, if you take someone's back, they're typically going to run away from you. So what will almost certainly be more likely to happen is something more like this. From that same situation where we go through on our training partner, get this guy moving away, we come around the corner and start pushing him away from us. From this position, we pommel our foot to the inside, and when we reach for our training partner's hip, he's going to go to flee the mat. So we plant our 2 feet down on the mat, and we come out standing behind him, and immediately put his hands down towards the floor. So once again, training partner here in front of us, we start off getting that Danaher hook in like so, and hooking around our training partner's calf muscle. Now we start the push-out reaction, which enables us to spin through underneath our training partner, start that pushing action. Push those in behind, and we catch our training partner right here at the hips. As he goes to flee the mat, we just plant our 2 feet, come up with like training partner, and quickly on the side, down to the mat, and with checking position. Seen from another angle, at a more realistic speed. We come in, hook up. Here's our reverse Danaher. There's the shallow foot on the hip. And there's our ability to push out on our training partner to come around the corner. As we bring our 2 feet in behind this guy. But the standing position, put it lock. We put it under in front of his knee. And as a result, we're able to walk everything down to the floor and take our training partners back. Now, pretty soon, your opponents are going to figure out if they stay standing, you're going to be able to come up to that rear standing body lock. So what many of them will do is knee slide to get away from you. This involves that same situation. We invert, go through underneath, and they knee slide. And if they can turn and face us, then eventually they can get back into open guard and start going to work. So when we see this, we are going to spontaneously follow our opponent up. This is actually our favorite way of using reverse Danaher to take the back. You'll often see my students make use of this. From here, we push out, and we come around the corner. As we see this guy's knee come down, push away with our 2 legs. I never push, most of this come back this one. I never push my own legs through. That will give your opponent opportunities to sit into your legs. So we push, but my knee remains behind his knee. Never does it go forward in front of his knee and give him an opportunity to sit into our legs. We catch our training partner at the hip, and from here we ice, and my knee is in front of his, just like so. Then we reach across our training partner's waist, our ear goes to our training partner's back. We always look across the back. We never reach here and look forwards where he can put a whizzer on. Now he can't take his back anymore. We always look across the body, and we go with a front tight waist. So that when he goes for a whizzer, my head will make it impossible for him. If I put the wrong arm in and look forward, that's when he can easily put in a whizzer and prevent you taking the back. But this is the grip we're looking for. Then we put the second arm in place. We find ourselves now on our training partner's back and ready to go. Let's have a look at this again. Training partner comes forward, and we find ourselves in a pretty common situation. Split squat underneath our training partner. We push away, we invert through, we see this guy lead slide through, and we come up immediately into good attacking position, or actually you can't miss that. When he reaches for the whizzer, it's again opposite. Easy for us now to move around behind and into good attacking position. So let's quickly summarize what we've been through here. If our opponent elects to stay standing and flee the mat on his feet, we will start by pushing our man away, coming around the corner and getting our foot just in behind his 2 legs. If he stays where he is, well, we could use Jiu-Jitsu 101 methods. But realistically, he's going to try to flee the mat. When he does so, we just plant our 2 feet, put him up into a standing rear body lock. We block our training partner's knees and return him to the mat. Now, this time, he's in a low split squat. From here, we do a good job of inverting through. He does a good job moving away. And we simply pop out and get into that standard attacking position. Our training partner is back and ready to go. And between these 2 methods, you can split your opponent's knees, invert underneath them, and come out the back door into the back.